Me and you, we need to have a little heart to heart conversation because honestly, the things your mind is saying to you, they are straight up lies. I know this because I used to believe every single one of them. And if you're anything like me, your mind might be telling you things like, I'm not good enough. No one likes me. I'm always going to be stuck. What's the point of even trying? It's exhausting, isn't it? Feeling like that no matter what you do, that voice in your head keeps reminding you of all the reasons why you're not worthy, why you'll never change, why things will always be this way in your life. I get it because my mind used to tell me the same damn things every single day. When I was struggling with chronic depression, I believed every single word of it. I didn't even question my mind, like not even once. I just accepted it as the truth. Because when you hear something often enough, when it's been running in the background of your mind for years, it stops feeling like a thought and it starts feeling like your identity. I remember just sitting there and I used to think that this is just who I am. I'll always feel this way. I'll never be happy. I'll never be confident. I'll never be able to achieve my dreams. And this is just my life. And I'm telling you this because I know that that is what you're thinking right now. I know that these are the thoughts that you're always having. And I want to remind you here that the truth is that your mind lies. These are thoughts, not facts. Just the other day, I had a patient telling me that her mind kept whispering to her that no one actually likes me. I'm alone. I'm always going to be anxious in social situations. And she wasn't just saying this casually. She was saying this like this was like an actual fact. Like she had proof that she was unlikable, that she would always feel this way and nothing could ever change. And it was just so tough being in that visit with her because I felt her pain, first of all. And I could just feel the weight of those words on her. And it was just so sad for me to see such a young, capable woman feel this way, right? And the way that these words just sat on her just so heavy in her chest and they just completely shaped her entire reality. It was so sad to see. She told me that every time she would walk into a room, her mind would immediately start scanning for reasons why she didn't belong. If someone didn't smile at her, it's because they didn't like her. If people were laughing across the room, it's probably because they were laughing at her. If she wasn't invited to something, it was on purpose because people wanted to leave her out. If a friend didn't text her back right away, it's because they're just done with her and now they hate her. Her mind was literally twisting everything to fit the story that she had been telling herself for years. The story of, I'm unlikable. The story of, I'm not worthy. The story of, I'm alone. The story of, I'll always be anxious. And the worst part, the worst and scariest part was that she believed it. Because when your mind tells you something often enough, you just stop challenging it. You just feel like it's the truth, that it's reality. And it stops feeling like a passing thought and it starts feeling like who you are, which is the absolute scariest and most dangerous place to be in. And I get it because I used to believe my own thoughts too, and I believed them so much that I let those thoughts completely define me and who I was. But let me ask you something here now. If a complete stranger walked up to you on the street and they said, hey, just so you know, no one likes you. You're always going to suck and you're always going to feel this way and you're just never going to get better. Are you going to just nod your head and say, yeah, you're right. I guess that's just how it is? Like, hell no. You're going to be so angry and upset at the other person. And honestly, you're probably going to look at them like they're the ones who are insane. You'd probably roll your eyes, walk away. Maybe you'd even yell at them and tell them to like shut the F up and actually stand up for yourself. You might laugh at them and tell them that they're being ridiculous, that they think they know you and your life, right? This is how you would react if someone showed up to you. But when that voice comes from inside your own head, you accept it as the truth, as the ultimate truth. And why? It's because we assume that just because the thought shows up in our mind, it must mean something. But here's the thing that people don't really talk about often enough. Not every thought is true. Not every thought is important. Not every thought deserves your attention. Your brain is designed to look for patterns and confirm what it already believes. That's just how it works. So if you've spent years telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm unlikable, I'll never change, then guess what? Your brain is going to filter out anything that doesn't match that belief and only focus on the things that prove it right and prove it to be true. And this is actually called confirmation bias in psychology. And it's not a reality. It's just a story that you've been stuck in. And just because you've believed a story for years, it doesn't mean that you can't change it. And that is what we need to talk about. Because if you don't challenge the way that your mind talks to you, it will control your entire life. And you are way too powerful to let that happen. Your mind is constantly running. It's constantly feeding you thoughts from the moment that you wake up to the moment you fall asleep. Some of these thoughts, they're helpful, but a lot of them, they're just background noise. They're old programming. They're things that you picked up along the way without you even realizing it. The real issue isn't that these thoughts exist, it's that we accept them without questioning them. So for years, I would let my mind dictate how I felt about myself, and I would think that if I'm thinking this way, then it must be true. But when I finally started to question those thoughts, when I sat down and asked myself, is this actually a fact or just a belief I've carried for too long? Everything started to change in my life. Because here's the truth, a belief is just a thought that you keep repeating over and over and over again, and then you start to believe it. And if you have the power to hold on to a belief, you also have the power to let it go. You get to decide what thoughts you truly give weight to. You get to rewrite that narrative, and that means that you're not stuck, not even close. So the next time your mind starts spiraling, whether it's telling you you're not good enough, you're failing, or that no one cares about you, or that you'll never change, I want you to pause. Just take a freaking pause, take a deep breath, and question it. Most of us don't even realize that we have the ability to do this. We just take our thoughts at face value and accept them as the truth. But the moment you challenge a thought, you break its power over you. And here's how you do it. Here's how you truly take back control of your life. These are the types of questions that I want you to start asking yourself when that negative inner critical voice shows up and tries to make you believe that you are less than because you are not. The first question that I want you to ask yourself, is this actually true or does it just feel true? Thoughts can be incredibly convincing, especially when they're tied to emotions. If you've been telling yourself, I always mess up, or I'm just not the kind of person who can be confident, for years it's going to feel like the undeniable truth because you also just start collecting evidence to prove this thought to be true. But again, just because something feels like it's true doesn't mean it actually is. A thought only becomes the truth if you let it. So I want you to take a step back and ask yourself, do I actually have true proof that this thought is real? Or is this just a story that I've been telling myself? Most of the time you'll realize it's an assumption and not a fact. And this goes hand in hand with the next question I want you to ask yourself. What real evidence do I have? Your brain loves to prove itself right. I mean, let's be honest, we all love to feel like we're the ones that are right and we're correct, right? So what ends up happening is that it naturally filters out any evidence that contradicts what you already believe. If you believe that you're not good enough, your brain is going to conveniently highlight all the moments that you've failed or been rejected while completely ignoring all the times you've succeeded, been appreciated, or made progress. So put your thoughts on trial. If your mind is saying, no one likes me, is it true? And look for hardcore evidence, okay? Like true hardcore evidence. If you took this evidence in front of a judge, would they say this is evidence? So for example, you can't really go to a judge and be like, I feel this way, and so this is why this is the truth. No, you need to look for hardcore evidence and ask yourself, have people actually said those words to you? Did someone actually tell you, I don't like you or I hate you? Or are you making assumptions based on selective memories? So if you think I'll always fail, is that really true? Or are you just focusing on the times where things didn't go as planned, while you're completely disregarding your wins? There's almost always more to the story than your mind is telling you. Question number 3 to ask yourself, what would I tell a friend? So this question is really huge. If your best friend came to you and said, I'm such a failure, no one likes me, I'm never going to get better, what would you say to them? Would you say to them, yeah, you're right, you suck, and your life is doomed and no one likes you? Of course not. And if you did say that, you wouldn't have friends for very long. Instead, you would remind them of all the ways and reasons that they are good enough. You would remind them of all the hard things they've overcome, of the proof that their thoughts aren't actually facts. So why don't you do that for yourself? Most of us, we're so kind and compassionate and forgiving to other people, but when it comes to ourselves, we are ruthless, okay? Try talking to yourself the way that you would talk to someone that you truly love. You would be shocked at how different your inner dialogue sounds when you treat yourself with the same care and grace that you give others because you deserve that. Question number 4 to ask yourself: do I want to believe this? We forget that we actually have a choice. You have a choice. If you had to consciously pick a set of beliefs to live by, would you choose to believe that you're unworthy, that you'll always be stuck, that success and happiness are out of reach? Of course not. You don't want to believe that? But that's exactly what you're doing every time you let those thoughts run on autopilot without questioning them. You get to decide what you believe about yourself. You're not obligated to carry old beliefs just because you've had them for a long time. So ask yourself, are these beliefs actually serving me, or are they keeping me stuck? Question number 5, this is probably my most favorite one. I use this every single day, all the time, is asking yourself, what do I want to believe instead? If you had full control over your mind, which, by the way, you do, what belief would actually help you move forward? Instead of, I'll never get better, try telling yourself, I'm working through growth every single day. Instead of, I'm always going to feel this way, try, how I feel today doesn't dictate my future. Instead of, I'm not good enough, try, I'm worthy as I am and I'm constantly learning and growing. At first, your mind is going to fight you on this. It's going to push back. It's going to try to convince you that the worst is true. It's going to say, yeah, but you don't actually believe that. Of course, that's normal. But here's the thing. The more you choose better thoughts, the less power the old thoughts actually have. And over time, you rewire your brain to default to the beliefs that actually serve you. And then what happens? You take back control of your life. I literally want you to picture something for a second here. Like, take a moment to close your eyes if you need to. Take a deep breath in right now. Okay, I'm going to do it with you. Let's take a deep breath in. Close your eyes if you need to. And I want you to imagine waking up in the morning, and for the first time in a long time, there's no weight in your chest. No anxious knot tightening in your stomach before the day has even begun. Instead, you wake up calm, clear, ready. You don't immediately start scrolling, looking for something to distract you from the stress that's already creeping in. You don't start your day with a million worries racing through your mind. Instead, maybe you stretch. Maybe you take a deep breath and actually feel at peace. Now, I want you to imagine walking into a meeting room, a social event, a gym, anywhere. Okay? And instead of assuming that everyone is judging you, instead of feeling like you don't belong, instead of bracing for rejection, you walk in confidently. Not because you're suddenly perfect or, a giant celebrity, and not because you've just magically become the most extroverted person, but because you trust yourself, because you know that what other people think is not your responsibility, because you're finally free from that voice that used to whisper, they don't like you, you're not good enough, you're going to embarrass yourself. And let's take this one step further. Imagine chasing after your biggest dreams, starting that business, switching careers, building that life you actually want without your mind constantly telling you, why even bother? You're not the type of person that succeeds. You're just going to fail like last time. And instead of being paralyzed by doubt, you finally take action. And with every step you take, your brain stops looking for reasons why you can't and starts proving to you that you can. You're no longer running on autopilot, stuck in old habits and beliefs that don't serve you. You're in control. You know how to separate thoughts from facts. You know how to rewrite the stories that hold you back. You know how to use your brain as a tool for success instead of a weapon against you. Now, tell me, how different would your life feel? Because here's the thing, this isn't some far-fetched fantasy. I remember when I was struggling with my depression, this really did feel like a far-fetched fantasy. And then I started to work on myself, and now it's like an everyday reality, right? This isn't something that only special people get to experience. This is exactly what happens when you take back control of your mind. And guess what? You can. If you really want to break through those mental blocks, if you're serious about rewiring your brain for success and confidence, then you need to learn how to optimize your brain health. I've put together a free masterclass for you where I break down my 6-step blueprint to helping you get your mind to work for you instead of against you. This is honestly the same exact formula that I've used to help hundreds of people optimize their brain health. This is the exact same formula that I use to optimize my brain health and really get out of depression and conquer it and get to a place of having strong mental health. So Definitely check it out. Use a link in the bio. I've included it below. And what I really just want to end this video off with to just remind you is that your thoughts do not control you. You are not stuck. You are not your past. And the moment you start questioning your thoughts, you start unlocking the life that you are actually meant to live.